Recent U.S. military strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities have investors looking at oil prices, which are fairly steady after a 20% lift over the past few weeks. Hussein Aladina of TD Asset Management joins us now with more and what he's watching. Hussein, thanks for making the time this morning. As I mentioned at the beginning, I mean, part of what is notable perhaps for investors is that oil prices are not moving a lot this morning. Maybe you could just take us through what the market sees and is not seeing that causes that to happen.
Absolutely, Ken. Thanks for having me. So you mentioned that oil prices are up 20% over the course of the last several weeks. And I think part of the reaction overnight is the fact that the market has gotten longer over the course of the last couple of weeks in anticipation of a potential supply disruption in the Gulf and the Middle East. We haven't seen a response from the Iranian regime as yet. Production has not been disrupted over the course of the last couple of weeks in any meaningful way. So I think for the moment it's a wait and see. There's quite a bit of observation eyes on what happens in the Strait of Hormuz, where we have north of 20 million barrels a day of crude and product that traverses that small sort of area. But to date, no production disruption, and I think that's why we see oil trading weaker than it did when it opened last night.
Is that what you're watching going forward? I mean, obvious if there's more of a reaction from Iran, that will be notable, and everybody will be watching that. But maybe take us through what you think will be material going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think important to watch if there is a production disruption. If we look at prior geopolitical events, the events where we have seen production lost is where you ultimately see the impact in price and structure in other assets as well. No production has been disrupted. There is a bit of avoidance taking place in the Straits right now. So if you look at the higher frequency tanker tracking data, there's still quite a bit of activity in the Straits, but there are some cargoes or some vessels avoiding the region. That's what I'm watching closely right now. And then, does the Iranian regime respond by targeting, oil and gas infrastructure in the region? That's another thing to watch.
Absent another military response from Iran, where do you see oil prices going? I know we were speaking earlier, and you had a range. If nothing happens that is considered material, I'll say it that way, for the markets, you could see oil prices drifting down. But obviously, if something does happen, they could be moving up.
Yeah, I think it is still binary. I do think that if nothing happens, no production is impacted, there is downside to price. This risk premium comes out. Is it $8-10 lower? I wouldn't be surprised over the course of the next several weeks. If there is a production disruption, however, I think it is binary. I think we see prices go north of 90, north of 100, depending on the magnitude of disruption. I wouldn't be short oil here right now, notwithstanding the increase in length we've seen. Inventories are quite tight. Structure is quite constructive. From a fundamental perspective, outside of the geopolitics, balances have been slightly tighter than people have anticipated. There is this, softer sort of picture in the horizon, Q4, Q1 next year. But there's a long time before now and then, and a potential loss of supply would tighten balances pretty meaningfully.
I wanted to ask about gold, too, because obviously these are the things that tend to move when there's disruption in world order, and gold not moving a lot. I mean, it's near all-time highs, but tell me maybe your thoughts on gold.
Yeah, I think this is a reflection of the fact that we haven't seen a disruption as yet. It's not just gold. I think risk assets broadly are quite well behaved this morning, and I think they're all taking the cue from oil here. If there is a disruption, I wouldn't be surprised to see gold move higher. I think one of the things that has kept gold sort of reasonably well behaved is the strength in the dollar we've seen on the heels of the activity over the course of the weekend. Still a lot in flux, Kim. I wish I had more for you here, but I think we're going to have to wait and see how the Iranians respond. And overnight it sounds like Israel is still flying sorties over the country. So the situation is far from done. Again, I wouldn't be short. I don't know that I'm chasing the market higher here, but there is quite a bit of supply at risk should things turn sour.